In this first lesson, we'll look at how we can start to move around within Softimage's 3D workspace. Okay, so as I mentioned at the introductory lesson for this course, we're actually going to spend quite a bit of time throughout these first several lessons just really learning how to move around and how to navigate within Softimage and really appreciate just how powerful this application is as a whole. So what we're going to do first off is just learn how we can start to move around within the 3D workspace. Now, one of the things that you'll find that Softimage is very, very powerful with is the fact that we have a tremendous amount of customization available to us. Now, this is really apparent whenever we start to get into camera navigation. So the default settings for Softimage, whenever it comes to actually moving around within the workspace, the orbit and movement of your camera is controlled by pressing and holding the S key on your keyboard. That's the Supra key. So if I press and hold the S key on my keyboard, if you look down toward the bottom of the interface, we have different functions for the left, middle, and right mouse buttons. Once I move my cursor up here, you can see this. So you can see if I press and hold the S key and left click and drag, that will track from side to side. Again, if you look down here, if I hold the S key and middle click, that will dolly us in and out. And if I hold the S key and right click, that will orbit around. Now this again is the default navigation mode for Softimage. Now we actually do have a few options that we can actually start to go in and customize as far as how we actually move around. So for example, if we go up to File and down toward the bottom area, we have what are called interaction models. So by default we have a Softimage interaction model, but we also have what's called a Maya interaction model. So if you're a Maya user that is coming into Softimage, what this will do is actually remap all of the navigation, all of the transformation, and all of the major keyboard shortcuts to the Maya equivalent. So for example, now, instead of the S key, now I can hold the Alt key and left click to orbit, left and middle to zoom in and out, and right click to actually finish this out. So again, if you're a Maya user that's coming into Softimage for the first time, this is a great way to actually start to just get comfortable with how the Maya interface, or rather the Softimage interface, works. And also we have other major keyboard shortcuts like our transformation tools, basic viewport navigation are all mapped to their Maya equivalent. Now, as a matter of personal preference, I actually don't like to use this because while this is a great way of getting started with Softimage, if you're a Maya user, this particular interaction model actually overrides a lot of the very, very powerful native features in Softimage. So for example, in Softimage, the Alt key is by default actually a very, very powerful modifier that we'll actually start to learn how we can use in one of our later lessons. But with this interaction model set to Maya, my Alt key has now been switched to a navigation tool, which again is nice if you're jumping in, but if you really want to take full advantage of the power of Softimage, I would recommend leaving your interaction model set to Softimage. And that's what I'm going to be having mine set to for the duration of this course. Now, beyond just these simple interaction models, we do have some more personalized or more customizable things that we can start to get into. So if we get into the Softimage preferences, we can come in here and start to, again, customize our camera navigation. So if we go into Tools, expand that, and go into Camera, this is where we can actually get maybe just a little bit more detailed. So you can see we have our mouse mapping. We can have it set to either Maya or Softimage. So for example, if I set this to Maya, now I'm still pressing and holding my S key, but now I'm using basically my Maya navigation. So left click to orbit, left and middle to zoom in and out, and just middle to pan around. So again, if you're a Maya user, this should feel extremely comfortable. The benefit of this is that it does allow us to move around just like we were in Maya, but we are still pressing and holding our S key, which leaves our Alt key free to do some of the really, really neat things that we'll get into in some of our later lessons. And it also leaves all of our keyboard shortcuts mapped to their default Softimage settings. All right, now as a matter of personal preference, I actually prefer to use this Softimage mode. So that's what I'm going to leave mine set to, again, for the duration of this entire course. Okay, so we can go ahead and close out of this. Okay, now before we wrap up this particular lesson, there is one last thing that I want to show you whenever it comes to navigating and moving around within Softimage. It becomes really, really important to be able to focus in and actually center certain things on your screen. So for example, if we were to actually just drop in a simple primitive object, so let's go to Get Primitive, let's drop in a surface, and just start with a simple sphere in this case. There we are. Now you can see that I am actually orbiting basically around this sphere. Now if I were to zoom out and actually try to orbit around from over here, you can see that my sphere is way off screen. So if at any point in time, if you want to have an object that is basically centered and zoomed into your camera, all you have to do is select that object and then hit the F key on your keyboard. Just remember F for frame. So as soon as I hit F, it will actually frame whatever I currently have selected and center my camera directly on that. Now we also have the A key, so if I hit A, that will actually basically frame up and try to center up every single thing that's in my scene. Now in this case I only have one object in my scene, so there really is not much of a difference between hitting F and A in my case. Okay, so that is for now just a look at how we can start to customize some of our camera navigation options within Softimage.